Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you for joining. Today, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of information. We're going to talk about Bitcoin. We're going to talk about altcoins. We're going to talk about risk, portfolio management, the stock market, and using the dollar as a denominator. We're going to talk about things going mainstream, the use of Bitcoin as not just a store of value, and a lot more. So, as usual, I'm not even going to say it. Welcome. So, first of all, this channel is all about math, money, freedom. If you're interested in those three things, hit the like and subscribe. Appreciate it. Thanks for being there, everybody. So let's talk quickly about the miners hodling. This hit the newswires today after very heavy selling in January 2021 by a lot of miners and a little bit of selling in Feb. It stopped more or less in March, and all of a sudden, April, the miners are accumulating. So what does this all mean? This means a supply shock is probably coming, unless, of course, the miners start dumping. But maybe the miners think, maybe we should hold our Bitcoin and sell it at 100,000 instead of now at $56,000 or $57,000 a share. So that is good news. But there's more good news. So let's look at another chart here. This one looks at the number of coins in circulation at approximately 2.4 million. Remember, only a couple of months ago, we had nearly 3.5 million coins in circulation, and that is falling rapidly. This drainage of coins is unprecedented and extremely high. And again, what's going to happen when JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley and all these guys and all these ETFs start looking for coins? The shortage has to hit. I've been talking about this now for many months, and I'm going to come out with a new who's got the coins analysis, as well as some other new things that you guys have been asking for. So please keep the suggestions coming, because my job is to entertain you all with numbers and money-making information. Okay, so another piece of good news, this was released today. Is Bitcoin too big to fail? Well, yes, it's no longer a small asset. Yes, it's mainstream. Yes, it's an asset class. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later in this slide deck as well. And don't waste your time reading the article. It's long, it's boring, it's an old regurgitation, but the answer is yes, it's too big to fail. And that is very good news. So there's more great news as well. The crypto market cap just hit $2 trillion. And that's doubled since January. We're talking a little over 90 days. And that is kind of stunning. What's also stunning is I'm going to talk about the altcoin season that we are in, that a lot of people say we are in, and give some cautionary remarks. First of all, Ether, Binance Coin, Polkadot, Tether, and Cardano now have a combined value of $422 billion. Those five literally have the same value as Bitcoin not too long ago. Now, the other thing that people look at is Bitcoin dominance. It's now at 57%, down from 73% in January. So we are back at dominance levels that we were at back in September. So again, no cause for alarm. Everybody knew this was coming. The altcoins always lag Bitcoin. Bitcoin has done very well, but I believe Bitcoin still has a long way more to run. So let's look at Bitcoin dominance real quick. Here you see a chart of the Bitcoin dominance index, and you can see we are back at September levels. So the question is now, is altcoin season here or not? And that's what we're going to examine and try figure out. So this came out, and I'm using this set of price targets from Michaël van de Poppe for a special reason. First of all, they are what I would call very broad brushstrokes. You know, Bitcoin going from 57,000 up to 350 to 450. It's a big range, but it's very ambitious. So that tells me his goals are very lofty. Again, as I've always said for a long time now, my Bitcoin target is 100 to 208,000 in this year, which is also a big range, but it's a function of so many things. We don't exactly know what's going to happen, how much money is going to be printed, how much adoption is going to be. But as each day and each week goes by, I get more and more bullish. So that $200,000 becomes more and more probable. Anyway, not giving any investment advice or price predictions. I'm just taking these numbers and giving you my 2 cents. I think 450 is very high. Second of all, if you look at Ethereum, 10K to 17.5K, As you know from my older sandbag prediction, I predicted 8,900 by the year 2025 for Ethereum. So again, we'd all be very happy if it hits 10,000. And there's some other ones in there, but I want to look at percentages because they're much more important to look at than just looking at raw numbers. So let's see what my little crunching did here. So again, do not trade in this information. This is Michael Vanderpop's numbers. Thank you, Michael, for putting them together. But what I did was went a little bit deeper. I took his numbers and created percentages. These are percentage gains from his low end to his high end for all these different cryptos. So we've got Bitcoin, we've got Ethereum, we've got a Cardano, Polkadot, Zilliqa, and Elrond. Now, I want to point out a couple of things that you all need to know. First of all, the performance of things like Cardano, Polkadot, and Ethereum are very much in line with Bitcoin, with the exception of the high-end target for Cardano. That's off the charts. Zilliqa completely exploded, so I will dig deeper into what his foundation is behind those numbers, but that seems like a lot of upside. And Elrond, according to him, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that. Again, assuming his numbers are correct. But the point is, does it make sense to invest in these altcoins, or should you stick with the blue chip, Bitcoin and Ethereum? And that's always been my thesis. It's what I've always said from the beginning is they're the blue chips, they're the solid ones. But again, let's go a little bit deeper. Now, what's very important to know in this game is things called beta and standard deviation. So beta coefficient is a measure of an investment's systematic risk, and standard deviation is a measure of an investment's total risk. So systematic risk, total risk, very different, but what's most important is the standard deviation, because this measures the risk of the individual crypto. Now, if you look at the numbers here I just compared two, I didn't go how much deeper, but if you look at the standard deviation of Ethereum, 6.74, and the standard deviation of Cardano is 9.92. Basically, it's nearly 50% riskier. And this is the point I want to get across to everybody. When you look at your assets, you have to think in terms of two things. Alpha, which is your return, and beta, which is your risk, and within that, overall standard deviation. This is what's important. This is the message I want to impart. So yes, your altcoins may move higher, move faster. As we saw from the previous slide, they're not that much faster, not that much of a difference. I was actually very surprised by that. But at the same time, you take on a lot more risk when you start dabbling with these altcoins. And again, this whole channel is all about risk management and money-making ideas. So the big takeaway here is Cardano is a lot more riskier than Ethereum. And of course, Zilliqa is a lot more risky than Ethereum. And Polkadot is riskier than Ethereum. And the returns are more or less the same, with the exception of Zilliqa, of course. So the question is, where do you want to play? Now, the big conclusion that I get from this is moon coins, yes, they may do well, but you have to look at the relative risk. And when you compare returns, considering the added risk, it can be dangerous to play these altcoins. And that's the message I want you all to take away. Now, you can compare things like Apple and Amazon or Microsoft and Tesla, and you can compare all the different risks, your betas and your standard deviation. You can look them up online and check for yourself. But I always look at those matters because that's what matters to me. You want consistent returns over time. You don't want this. You want consistent growth, safety, risk management, and that's what's important. So on that note, we're going to change gears. Of course, Michael Saylor, Microstrategy's at it again. He bought more Bitcoin. I know many of you are probably aware of this. And it's funny because if you look at the chart, and I like to look at MicroStrategy compared to Bitcoin, it has been lagging over the last 30 days, but it's creeping back up. And I was urging everybody to stay patient, stay patient. People were freaking out when MicroStrategy was down at $600 and just not moving while Bitcoin was going up. I said, don't worry, it's coming, it's coming. So over the last month, Bitcoin's gone up 25%, MicroStrategy's gone up 16%. And it's only a matter of time before it catches up because the JP Morgan fund are allocating 20% of their investments to MicroStrategy, and they're going to be taking a lot of money real fast because they just put a $130,000 price target on Bitcoin, and they urge all their high net worth customers to put 1% into crypto. And that 1% is going to go straight into this fund. So literally 0.2% of that 1% will go straight to MicroStrategy, which I believe will float it higher. So there was a question actually that came up. Why did MicroStrategy go above $1,300 a couple of weeks ago? And I think that was because of the intense buying by Morgan Stanley. They made a part of their asset too. So you can just see the impact of the big institutions now on crypto prices. They're coming. That tsunami of money is coming. And again, an exciting time. Let's talk a little bit more about some other news. So Starbucks, you can now buy or use your precious Bitcoin to buy a cup of coffee. The question is, this has been done by Bakkt as well, and they tested with 500,000 users. Do you want to buy coffee with your Bitcoin? Or do you want to make it at home, save all your money, stick it in Bitcoin, and then after Bitcoin really gains, buy it? And funny, there was an interesting story. It was a bit sad, and I'm going to digress here for a second. There was another YouTuber, somebody sent me his video, and he just went and bought a house in Vegas for nearly $800,000 cash. And it broke my heart because I was thinking, that poor guy, the opportunity cost of that investment is ridiculous. Why not borrow from a bank and put the money into Bitcoin? Anyway, we'll see what happens a year from now, and I hope he's okay. But Andre, thinking of your brother, go borrow some money. So that's Bitcoin and Starbucks. But the real important thing to remember is the IRS sees Bitcoin crypto as property. So exchanging, spending, or selling Bitcoin is a taxable event, and you have to report that. So remember, you might have bought Bitcoin at $6,000 or $9,000. You might have it in your account somewhere. You can with Square or Cash or PayPal, then you go swipe and buy a cup of coffee. That could be a taxable event in the eyes of the IRS. So just be careful of that, everybody. And the other thing to be careful of as well, the IRS want to know all about your Bitcoin holdings and other crypto. So on the 1040 tax form for 2020, it says, did you receive, sell, send, exchange, or otherwise acquire any financial interest in any virtual currency? I wonder who put this form together, because virtual currency, what is that? Vague. Why didn't they just say crypto? Then people would understand. But now I guess people could say, well, I didn't understand the form because what's a virtual currency? That could be maybe the get out of jail free card, but you can't plead ignorance in the eyes of the law. So who knows? Just another weird observation. So just watch it out there. Remember, be paranoid. You never know who's looking at you. And another piece of little news. This was an interesting chart I saw today. When you look at the S&P 500, it's the top 500 companies in the US, divided by the Fed balance sheet. And you can see that the stocks aren't actually going up because the denominator is going down. And as I said last week, inflation eats fiat. It's also eating the S&P 500. So think in terms of that. In true purchasing power dollar terms, the market's been flat. And people say to me, aren't you afraid of a market crash? It's like, the market has been technically kind of crashing, but the trajectory is still going up because the denominator is going down. So that's why I'm not concerned. There's so much money in the system, it's only going to float the economy and float the market. So just my thesis. We'll see. Plus, as I said before, because the post C19 situation, things are coming back. Business earnings are going to be incredible, and that should float a lot of companies up higher as well. So, and in final news, actually penultimate news, the smart schools are investing heavily in Bitcoin. The good news is, probably with falling enrollment and people getting fed up because of the whole C19 situation again, they at least have their Bitcoin to fall back on. And I know Harvard and Stanford, if you look at these names, these are some of the top schools. I'm just wondering where Wharton is, or maybe they just didn't disclose it yet, University of Pennsylvania. They should be on that list. Anyway, and in final news, thing going mainstream, there was an AOL conference. Talk about a blast from the past, AOL. Reminds me of dial-up. Suze Orman basically says now is the right time to buy a Bitcoin. So if people like that are saying buy Bitcoin, we're definitely very mainstream at this stage. So in conclusion, everybody, on this quick update, Let's run through the items we covered today. Miners are hodling, and the number of Bitcoin in circulation is shrinking dramatically. Bitcoin is now too big to fail. We have a $2 trillion crypto market cap, which is massive. Remember just how quickly we went from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. It just happened in 90 days. Now, Bitcoin dominance is falling back to September levels, but no need to panic. Remember the risk and return this altcoin season. There are some great names that are doing very well, like BNB and a few others, but just remember, you take on additional risk when you buy these altcoins. And Ethereum has done very well, and Bitcoin will continue to do very well. Microstrategy is at it again. However, the dollar cost average is quite weak. They paid nearly $60,000 a coin, so whenever they did that over the last 2 or 3 weeks, they weren't buying at good times. And Bitcoin is not only no longer a store of value, but it can also be used as a currency to buy things. And remember taxes. Remember, there could be somebody looking out for you. And the schools are investing in Bitcoin with their endowments, which is great. And inflation in the stock market. Very real. Always think. We got to think in terms of denominating things now with Bitcoin, or at least with bars of gold, to get a true sense of exactly where things are going. But of course, my theory on gold over the last 10 years hasn't done very well at all. So if you like this, please hit the like, subscribe, etc. And a big thank you to the Patreon community, patreon.com/investanswers. See you all in there. Thanks all. Have a good day.